boys and girls, it's Miss Robinson again, your science teacher. So last week we went over food chains, and this week we're going to be doing the same exact thing. We're going to be doing the same thing, but kind of extending it a little. So let's look at our objective. I can gather evidence of how organisms need each other to survive and energy transferring through food chains. So we are going to be doing the same thing where we make some food chains and talk about how the animals need each other to help each other survive and how the energy flows. So first, let's look at what we did last week. Last week, we did this. That's upside down. We did this. We talked about how the sun can give different organisms energy and how corn is a plant, and so it can make food from the sun. Then a mouse might eat some corn, and then an owl would eat a mouse. And then when the owl dies, it decomposes and goes into the ground to help the corn. So first we're going to go over, this is just like a basic one, right, that we could see like at the park or something. Maybe we won't see it all happening. Maybe there's not corn growing at the park, but like it's something we could see here in Texas somewhere. Our next one is going to be a safari food chain. So we're going to see things that maybe we see on movies and TV, but not something we've all seen before in real life. So like most of the food chains that we know about on Earth, right, they start with the sun, because the sun gives energy. It doesn't give energy. Producers, which are organisms that can use the sun to create their own energy. So they use the sun to create their own energy. And so we need to start with the sun so that we could have that up there. We have the sun. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to draw your sun. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to explain to you. So last week, we were drawing our food chain in just a line chain. Today, I'm going to show you how we could also do it like in a circular direction, or we could do it any which way you want. It doesn't matter as long as you're showing that the energy is transferring to the next organism. The arrow points towards where it's going. So, in a safari food chain, the next organism, there's lots of different organisms, but we're looking at like some sort of plants or something because that's the type of organism that can take the sun and create energy or produce it, a producer. So we're going to just talk about some like desert grass. We'll just draw a little bit of grass. And I'm going to draw it off to over here. And in places like the safari or deserts or places where it's very, very dry, the grass is also like a little bit, it's not quite as green and lush as it might be in other places. Sometimes in Houston, we even see it like that. Like, think about what the grass looks like during the summer. So I'm going to add a little bit of brown to it. As well as show that the energy is transferring from the sun to the grass. All right, I will give you guys 30 more seconds to draw this. All right, so the next organism we are going to draw in the safari food chain is a zebra. And we've all seen zebra, well, not all of us, but a lot of us have seen zebras either at the zoo or on movies or TV. So that's what we're going to be drawing next because zebras eat the grass. All right, so I have my zebra. I'm going to give you guys about 1 minute to draw your zebra. 1 minute to draw your zebra. And make sure you have an arrow pointing that the energy is flowing from the grass to the zebra as the zebra eats it. About 10 more seconds. Okay, and so now we need to think about what eats a zebra. Well, there's a couple different things that eat zebras, but let's just focus on like the smaller predator, and that is going to be a cheetah. So we're going to draw a cheetah next because the cheetah is going to eat the zebra and get its energy from eating that as its food. So here's my cheetah. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute to draw your cheetah. About 30 more seconds to work on your cheetah. All right, and so the last part that we're going to talk about for this food chain today is a lion. A lion will eat the cheetah. A lion will eat cheetahs, and it is true that that can happen. So let's draw ourselves a lion. Drawing my lion looking upset because he's going to be hungry and wants to eat them. I'll give you guys about 1 more minute to draw your lion. About 30 more seconds, guys. Okay, guys. So let's just write some sentences about some of the stuff we did. So we know the sun gives energy to the grass, which is the producer. So I'm going to say the grass creates energy from the sun. I'm going to give you guys a minute to write this down. I'm just going to add one more sentence for this one. And I'm going to say animals get their energy, create energy by eating other organisms, right? Some organisms are eating grass. Some are eating animals, right? It just kind of depends. I'll write that down here. So we can see that the lion gets its energy from eating the cheetah. If the cheetah wasn't around, the lion would have to find somewhere else to get its food. And lions are carnivores, which means they only eat meat. So if there was no cheetah around, it would have to find another source of meat. Meanwhile, the zebra only eats small things like grass and plants and stuff like that. And so if there was no sun to give that grass energy, then the zebra wouldn't be able to get energy either by eating the grass. And then all the other animals that eat the zebra or eat something after the zebra wouldn't be there. So it's very, very important. I'm going to give you guys one more minute to finish this sentence and add anything else that you might have missed from here. One more minute. All right, guys. So we just created a safari food chain of animals that actually eat each other or organisms that actually eat other organisms and how they really do get energy. So now we're going to look at a different ecosystem, a different area. Ecosystems like an area where organisms live, certain ones, right? In the safari, we see all these organisms. But when we don't see these organisms, we don't see lions underwater. We don't see zebras underwater. So we are going to make an underwater food chain. Okay, so an underwater food chain, we still need to have producers. We still need something that creates energy using the sun. Even though underwater it can get really, really deep and dark, there's still ways for it to happen. So we still need to start with the sun. I'm going to start it over in this way this now just to show it can go all different ways. Our sun. You have 30 seconds to draw your sun. All right. And so then we're going to see energy flow to energy transferring or flowing to a producer, right? Something that can create energy using the sun. And a lot of times we see like plants for things like that. And so in water, it's the same. A plant that can produce its own energy using the sun is seaweed. We've seen seaweed before, right? At the beach. You have 30 seconds to draw your seaweed. All right, guys. So now we have our seaweed, our producer. Now we need to think what would eat seaweed. And really, like, there's a tons and tons of different kinds of fish. We're just going to draw a fish and write fish, right? A small fish, probably a small or medium-sized fish. Whatever kind of fish you want to draw. And fish come in all different colors, shapes, and sizes. So you can really have your own little creativity with this one. You have about 30 more seconds to draw your fish. All right, and so again, there's so many different organisms we could say that eat fish, but with the ecosystem and the food chain that I'm kind of following, we are going to talk about a seal next. So a seal eats fish. So I'm going to draw a seal. All right, you have 1 minute to draw your version of your seal. 1 minute. All right, and so now we are going to draw a great white shark because sharks eat seals. Sharks can also eat this other stuff, but that's not going to be enough to fill them up. So we are going to draw a shark. I'm gonna add a little bit of color to mine, a little bit of blue, because I have a little bit of blue on top. Bluish. And make sure I get my arrow. All right, I'm gonna give you guys another minute to draw your shark. One more minute to draw your shark. Okay, guys, so we have our food chain. We have the sun helping the seaweed create its energy, create its food or energy. The fish who eat the seaweed, well, now the energy is transferring to them. And then the seal that eats the fish, now the energy is transferring to the seal. And then the great white shark will eat the seal, and so it will have the energy. All right? Great job. So let's just write a few sentences about this before we close up. So I wrote, energy transfers happens when the fish eat the seaweed. I will give you guys 1 minute for that. And you could really write that about anything. I could say energy transfer happens when the shark eats the seal. And even though the shark doesn't create energy from the sun, the shark needs the sun to survive because it creates this whole long chain in order for the shark to eat something. As all organisms need the sun to survive. So I'm going to give you guys a minute and a half. A minute. I'm going to give you guys a minute to get both these sentences done. 1 minute to get both these sentences done. A little over a minute. About 30 more seconds to get anything else you needed to get in here. All right, guys, so today we continued talking about food chains and in different ecosystems or different environments with different types of animals. First, we talked about a safari where we see things like not tigers, lions and zebras and stuff. And we talked about how the grass is one of the producers in the safari, and that zebras eat the grass, and then cheetahs eat zebras, and then lions eat cheetahs. So the lions rely on all the different parts of it. Even though lions only eat meat, that doesn't mean they still need grass there because some organisms that they eat might eat that grass. We also talked about an underwater food chain. We talked about how, again, same thing, the seaweed creates energy from the sun. It's a producer, and then the fish eat the seaweed, and then the seal eats the fish, and then the shark eats the seal. The shark still, even though it's deep down in the water and it doesn't see the sun or anything, it needs the sun as part of its ecosystem and part of its food chain, because if the seaweed doesn't produce its energy from the sun, then none of the other organisms will be able to survive. They all rely on each other. Thank you guys, and I hope you have a great week. See you next week. Bye.